this piece. This is a Madeiran Machete.
Rajal, right?
Sorry,
Yeah.
A Madeiran Rajal. This was likely made somewhere between 1850 1870 is our guess. Based on, it's João Gomes is the luthier here. As you can see, and some of these traditions came to Hawaii. This appears more to be a spruce than anything else, which would be consistent with what would be available, certainly in Madeira at that time on the trade route. But look at the neck.
Oh yeah.
This is like pine.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, definitely.
You know, and so the tradition of using alternate woods and so forth, because this wood might have been available in Madeira, but my knowledge just doesn't grow there. Yeah. But Madeira is also on the trade route to many places.
Right. And probably something like a rosewoody back in size,
yeah.
huh?
Mm-hmm. And there's also a darker wood that's indigenous to Madeira that looks very. It could be that wood. I forgot the name of that wood. Not Vinatico, maybe it's Till, but it could be that. It could be Brazilian because Madeira was also a stop off on the way to Brazil.
Yeah, yeah.
So a lot of trade going through there. This piece, this is also a Rajal. It's a Madeiran or Portuguese instrument, but this one's made in Hawaii. This is made by Manuel Nunes, likely around 1890, 1895.
And it definitely matches his aesthetic style from all these ukuleles, or machetes or ukuleles over here.
I think what's so fascinating to me about this particular piece is this body shape. These lines are so sexy, you know. And what's interesting is at a later time, probably about 15, 20 years after this instrument was made, there's a strong collaboration between Martin and company and Manuel Nunes. So there were Martin guitars that were being sold under Manuel Nunes' name as Hawaiian guitars. They were taking advantage of collaborating, but they were clearly made at the Martin factory. But if you look at the Martin concert ukulele, it is very similar to this body shape.
It looks like this,
you know, and so there may, I speculate, there maybe have been some collaboration on the design of the Martin concert early on. As Manuel Nunes was sharing some things with them. Because by that time, as Aaron said, Manuel Nunes is very successful. He's a famous business guy. He has a factory. And so being able to collaborate further would be in his maybe best interests, maybe consulting fees, who knows. But this body shape is just absolutely beautiful to me. This is an interesting piece. We don't know who made it. It was made here in Hawaii. It's made of all Hawaiian koa. And as Aaron was pointing out too, there are a lot of very fascinating, interesting, unique pieces, features on this particular instrument, including some of the detail here.
Yeah, it's got a fretboard, but it's inlaid into the top. The fretboard is flush with the top, like a Romantic era or Baroque guitar. And we've got the scratched around the border. Yeah.
With no, so we can see that it's not a true binding here in the sense you would expect to see that line, as Aaron pointed out too, but we have this etched line all the way in. It comes tight to the edge here as well, so it's not uniform all the way around. It's, you know, one of the things that you can tell. It has a unique headstock design too. And as Aaron pointed out, there's some unique features on the inside with some vertical bracing running along the sides. We're not sure if it's a repair, if it's
that might be one to get the camera in someday.
Cool. I don't think about it because I just need to buy groceries, right? Right. But like this is putting somebody's life in a row. And it's really eerie to me.
It's 1800-ish, you know, the late, and like the overthrow, all of that.
He was there, and he went from pre-industrial woodworking to a manufacturing facility.
Yeah.
And he went from Hawaii as its own independent place where he was an immigrant, where he was nothing, until he is a famous rich man in Hawaii.
Yeah.
With sons who are successful, with a son who goes off to Los Angeles and
it
becomes a big deal.
Know that the beginning of a cultural movement that was going to impact an entire state.
And he lived long enough to say that he was the inventor.
Yeah.
Which the other guys didn't live that long. Right?
And that's the story, right? He was an inventor because he outlived the other two.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
marketing genius.
Yeah, 100%.
And here's the thing that I think is important that my generation could learn from this. They all change a little bit, and they're all on a path to something different for their own reasons. But they all rhyme. These words rhyme with each other.
They're all connected.
Yeah, you look at it and you're like, oh, I get it. And I think it's easy for people in my generation to be like, well, I'm going to make one like this, I'm going to make one like this, we need to use rosewood, we need to use, you know, and you make one that every one of your customers want instead of like what's going to work.
This is his family. This is firstborn, secondborn, thirdborn. This is his daughter. This is, and that's what you see and that's what you feel, right? Crazy.
Do you see that? I mean, I know, like, you know, just taking that to like the modern day, you know, you see some of that in like Kamaka, right? They'll build some, like you have some that are some other wood combos, but compared to other builders, like even Ukulele or something like that, like Kamaka still, you know, for the most part sticks to that.
That's the
Kamaka tradition.
Yeah.
You know,
basically.
It's a Kamaka.
And 107 years.
And you,
so,
exactly. But
so,
like you could lay out,
oh,
it wouldn't be as
Kamaka.
old as
That's
this, but you could lay out a Kamaka row like that and have a similar but
there's
slightly
DNA,
more modern story.
There's DNA connected with all of them,
Yeah.
And you would almost see, like, actually it'd be interesting, you almost
you don't
lay,
get to see this.
you know, you'd almost see you start to lay out those, and you would even take this, you were talking about the evolution of the manufacturing, and then you would take the next step of the evolution of manufacturing even.
Okay, folks, we're here with Shawn again. We've got these 3 Diaz ukuleles, and they really show the transition we're talking about from Madeiran builder to Hawaiian builder. And on the left, when it starts out, we've got the nice bridge with the bridge pins, overlaid fretboard, and as it goes to over here, it becomes more popular. No fretboard, just the frets in the neck, and then the slot bridge pins. And that's what we saw on those Santo ukuleles we looked at the other day too. And they're the same depth, it looks like, but the body keeps getting a little bit bigger.
And here's the transition after that. This is not a Diaz, it's a Santo,
Right.
but now you went from softwood top to all koa.
Yeah.
And then of course bridge pins are gone, no extended fingerboard, frets inlaid into the neck. So
Still using all the rope strips.
there is, actually this is the one that does have one interesting thing. Look, it does have a fingerboard, but it's inlaid into the neck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they actually get rid of that here.
Yeah, and that one's just right into the neck.
It's right into the neck.
That's the true transition.
This is the true transition, yeah. So you can see that right there.
Cool.
So we're looking at 4 Santo ukulele here, different time periods. The earliest model, you can see that Santo's experimenting with size. This is the front end of his ukulele making, probably around 1886. And you can see that there's some herringbone inlay that's done here. He bounds the bridge. It has a fingerboard. Of course, it's a softwood top, and bridge pins, of course. And the koa is absolutely gorgeous on this. You can also see a strung taper. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's domed and tapered
It's
a lot.
really
Yeah,
domed and
compared to some of
tapered
the
a
other
lot on
ones.
this particular one. And this is all fleshware, so it gives us a clue how the instruments were played. I mean, over the years as well. And it's just a fantastic example. You can also see that this is all hand cut. So if you notice in the left and right sides, they're not identical because they're just hand tools, these headstocks. But a lot of intricate details and intricate work on that particular piece. This instrument sounds absolutely fantastic. And this one here is probably within another 5 years or so, somewhere around 1890-ish. And this is actually, I mean, all of these instruments, the pre-1900s ukuleles, are rare, but this is a true survivor in that it's not fancy. It was made just to play. So we have no fingerboard, we have no bridge pins, we still have a softwood top, so that dates it a little bit earlier. And this rosette, according to Aaron, maybe have been
just
scratched in.
Yeah.
And you can see that it's not a clean joint, 12 fret, but who cares? You're not going to play up there. 12 and a half. 12 and a half. And so you can see some progression. The size in the body is a stark contrast here. This one is an outlier.
Yeah.
Because all the other Santo that I've seen is nothing like this size. These are comparable in size. Some adjustment are happening. This one here, this Santo has the mustache bridge. It still has bridge pins, but it's an all koa body. And so we would expect that it's likely a little bit later than here. Also, another clue is that it has the banjo style headstock and Santo's interest in the banjo.
And I think that that's from a Stewart banjo. It's hard to guess, but when I look at that, it looks like the Stewarts. So
yeah, and just beautiful, rope work on the rosette, the purfling on the side, and then we have this really unique combination of woods down the center of the fingerboard, and I'm not sure what these woods are, but in speaking with Aaron, of course, with Jim as well, it's likely, that it's scrap wood, yeah, that was available to be able to do and create something unique and different. And then this last one here, you can see no bridge pins, of course, no mustache bridge, all koa. And of course the banjo headstock is not here. This banjo headstock, he had done a limited number of them. They show up here and there, but most common, all the pre-1900s ones typically have this figure 8 style headstock. And what's really unique about this is he's using sapwood.
Yeah.
And so it's the first example that we see where sapwood is being used. What's interesting too, I think, Aaron, right, is that a number of these pieces, even this, you can see like it almost has like a burl in it or something. That not necessarily quarter sawn.
Yeah,
right?
not straight grain wood.
Straight grain, yeah. And so it's kind of fascinating to explore.
Now I have an observation or question for you, but it looks like when we get to this fourth one here, and all three gentlemen, when we get to that point, it's almost like for a moment there's like a local style coalesces. For even in the handmade world, they have a similar headstock, similar binding, all koa, no fretboard, fretboard or binding down the middle of the fretboard, the same sort of bridge, same sort of. It really feels like all of a sudden we know what customers want.
Yes. And I think a part of it too is that they were friends.
Sure.
You can almost imagine them sharing a meal, having a beer, whatever it might be. We don't have any evidence of that, but they are doing life just like everyone else during that time. And they're also sharing space, right? A couple of them shared space twice or so, shared shop space.
And the other two didn't live very long.
Yeah.
And so then Nunes can take these ideas and turn them into factory ideas instead of just handmade ideas. So, yeah, and so we've got book matched, one piece plain, book matched, and that one's one piece. Right?
Yes.
All koa necks.
All koa necks, yeah.
All wooden pegs.
And variation, these necks are much more similar. There's a little more roundness to this one here. It's kind of similar to this one.
Yeah.
But you can see how beautiful this book match is, and of course the rope that runs down the center and along the edges here. But on something like this, which we kind of deem almost like a player's model, right? Base model, just function and play, and we see. It's probably easiest construction-wise to not have to deal with the seam. You don't really have to book match. So efficiency, nowadays we think of a single piece, especially on the larger instruments. It's people subscribe to it being, it's harder, it's more expensive because it's difficult to get larger pieces of wood and this and that. That might be true now, but there are different approaches to that build. But they were using two styles of approach, and clearly. Speed is key in us making a successful business.
Yeah, this is so articulate with it too.